Hey guys, Monke AU here with another video, and today we're going to be going through my UFC 313 predictions. I'm going to be skipping a lot of the prelim fights, but believe me, there are bangers. I am going to be watching all of them, but I'm just not going to give any detailed analysis. Going to the main card, we have Bobby Green, King Green versus Mauricio Ruffy. Now, let's be honest, there's a reason why Bobby Green is a $5 underdog in this fight, and it's because, let's say he does stand with Ruffy, which, I think he probably will, but it's definitely not the brightest idea. I just don't think he can endure the shots. The problem is Ruffy made Malaki look easy, and when he fought that other guy, the Peruvian guy, they managed to find the Peruvian Nate Diaz, right? I mean, you could hit him with absolute bombs and he still wouldn't get knocked out. He just got endlessly dropped. Apparently he won the second round. I don't really remember if that was the case. Regardless, Ruffy is on a different level. And Bobby Green, whilst he does have the experience, his chin isn't necessarily there. That's the big problem. And this is because when he fought Jim Miller at 300, he got dropped. When he fought Tony Ferguson, I love him, but he got dropped, which isn't a good look. And Ruffy, he's got the momentum. He's got the fighting nerds behind him. He has the fight IQ. He's gonna find the holes in Bobby's game. I think this is an easy leg to put on your parlay. Ruffy by knockout. I think it's paying something like $2 as well, so that's really easy money. You could even push it a leg further and go, Ruffy by round 1 knockout, which I don't know if it's going to be round 1, but definitely Ruffy knockout. That's 100% guaranteed. I bet my house on that. But yeah, it's a good fight nonetheless. Still, anyway, next fight, Jalin Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. I'm going to say Ignacio, but TKO, not KO, right? But TKO, because what I think is going to happen is Jalin, when he fights shorter guys, he does better. But the thing is he's going to be facing Bahamondes, which apparently he's roughly about the same height, same build. And the thing is when you get two tall, lanky guys fighting each other, you're basically, it's going to be a rangy battle. You're going to be relying on things like the head kicks, which, to be fair, Turner did use quite well against Hooker. But the thing is if you can survive that and close the distance and push forward, Turner just wilts. Just think about it. Hooker breaks his arm round 1 and eats a head kick, and still he nearly subs him. Still he nearly knocks him out that round. And then Moicano, even though he got dropped, I can't remember what it was from, but he got dropped. He comes back the next round and just molests him on the ground and then TKOs him. But again, those ground and pound shots, they weren't like Benoit Saint Denis destroying his face kind of shots. They were enough to get him out of there, right? But arguably, if he had more dog in him, he might have been able to not scramble, but he might have been able to evade and punch back, Gilbert Burns Chimaev style, to just get out of that moment. I'm going to trust in Bahamondes to do this. I wouldn't bet on this fight, even though I think initially this was a pick'em. I think, in my memory serves me right, I'm pretty sure Bahamondes is like a 30-cent favorite or something like that. He's a favorite, right? But not by a huge amount. I don't know. I think it's either Turner gets a quick knockout or eventually he's going to wilt. So, still an interesting lightweight fight. This card is stacked with good lightweight fights. Like, really impressive stuff. Anyway, co-main event. I'm just going to say, what a shame Dan Hooker couldn't make it. I really hope they give Dan another chance at a top 5 guy, because realistically, I'm just so annoyed we couldn't do the Gaethje Hooker fight, because, if you've watched my videos, I've been going on and on and on about that fight. And it's a shame because Dan Hooker, he's not necessarily up there with the likes of, Holloway, Gaethje, and Oliveira, Poirier, but he can be up there. And if you got a fight against Gaethje and maybe wins, that's impressive. He really could have gone places. I hope they rebook him, ideally against Gaethje. Like, even if let's say Gaethje loses, I think it's a good idea to rebook the Hooker fight. If he wins, it's going to be a little bit more complicated, because then they could take the easy route and just do Gaethje Islam. But since Topuria vacated the belt, I don't know. Anyway, that's besides the point. With this fight, this is going to be really close. Being honest with my predictions, I sometimes just I make a prediction of how I want the fight to go, and then I'll just try and rationalize it. And listen, Fiziev, he's a good fighter, but no one wants to see Gaethje go out the way he does. And I'm just going to say this. I don't think Gaethje's chin is compromised necessarily, and my logic behind this is, actually no, it probably is, because the problem is, when we look back at the other times he was TKO'd, they've always been from volume, right? Like Alvarez, He just smacked him around and he dropped, right? He hit the one knee, he may have even hit the canvas, and they called it. Again, in the first Poirier fight, he got dropped pretty badly, but he was still with it, you know, like he was still on the single leg when they called the fight. But against Holloway, he had already been dropped several times and was then flatlined. So that's pretty risky. I don't think Fiziev is the kind of guy to randomly go out there and chin Gaethje though, because if we're being realistic, the kind of people that Fiziev knocks out are the people like Moicano, you know, who can be knocked out pretty easily by guys like Turner, but, you know, he didn't capitalize on it. But I don't think Fiziev just goes out there and knocks him out. What I think realistically is going to happen is if Gaethje does the tactical approach and, you know, picks him apart at range, he's going to eat shots, which I think he can survive. And I think he's just going to out tit for tat Fiziev. Now, if he goes out there, apparently what he's been saying is he wants to go back to the old school Gaethje style, which is just, you know, throwing caution into the wind and just chucking bombs and eating shots in return. If he does that, it's really 50-50, because it's either it works really well in that he's just able to power through, and I don't think he knocks out Fiziev, but I think he does mess him up pretty bad, similar to the first fight, or he goes out there and just gets chinned immediately. I just doubt. I trust in Gaethje. I don't think he's going to get knocked out. I think Fiziev, let's also be realistic. I mean, he was training, but not for a fight like this, you know. But there has been enough time for him to turn around. So, I don't know. If we're being realistic, I think the odds are correct with Gaethje being an underdog, and a reasonable underdog. I understand it. I think Fiziev has a good chance to pull this off, but I trust Gaethje to probably 29-28 him. Maybe I think he might lose the first, but he will come back in the second and third. If he gets flatlined, I mean, that sucks. That's really a bummer, because he did say, like, if he gets flatlined one more time, he might retire, and no one wants to see him go out like that. I think obviously the Hooker fight was way more in his favor, and also 5 rounds. What a shame. What a shame we missed out on that fight. This is still a good fight, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be entertaining. Anyway, main event, Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. The thing is that since Pereira has already got 3 title defenses under his belt and has gone against the likes of people like Blachowicz, who, even though that fight was really close, whenever Pereira does get taken down, he's not a sitting duck. Like, he's one of these guys who, when he does get taken down and the other guy starts to ground and pound, he can move his torso from side to side. He's got good head movement on the ground to avoid just being, you know, destroyed. Point is, Pereira, he's had so much time to prepare for him. And again, since this is UFC, every 5 minutes, if he doesn't get finished, they reset the fight. And they both start on the feet, where Pereira is going to have the far, far greater advantage. I really don't think Ankalaev's striking is all that, let's be realistic, because the people, like, okay, I get it, he hasn't had the opportunity to fight the massive names like Pereira has, but I mean, his best wins are Johnny Walker and Cutelaba. That's it, you know, and those guys, they're not, I mean, Cutelaba is even top 15 anymore, and Johnny Walker, look what's happened. Those wins age like milk, and he couldn't put away Blachowicz. There weren't any moments where he seriously put him in danger. It's just because he was able to mix up the wrestling a lot in that fight. Now, here's the thing. Naturally, when you are a striker facing a wrestler, the wrestler is always going to have the takedown threat, and as a striker, to try prevent that, you're going to be dropping the hands, right? Do I think Pereira is going to be caught by just dropping the hands and getting absolutely chinned? I don't think so. I think he's been preparing for this fight for a long time. He's also got the physical advantages in his favor. I mean, Ankalaev can't eat or drink during the day. It's tough. I really think it's tough for Ankalaev. Do I feel bad? Not really. I mean, you kind of get what you give, you know what I mean? Because if it is true that he has been denying these title fights, trying to wait for the more favorable matchup, then what do you expect, dude? Like, you can't play these games if you're not all that, you know what I mean? I just think the fact that every 5 minutes this is going to be reset, and I listen, I know that I said the exact same thing when it came to O'Malley and Merab. Like, my logic for picking O'Malley by KO in that fight was, well, listen, Merab had been hit by Cejudo. O'Malley has to do that. He gets the chance to do that cleanly 5 times, assuming he goes the distance, because he probably won't get finished. The difference is Ankalaev really isn't, he's not, let's be real, he's not even close to Merab when it comes to wrestling. Merab is a freak. He's inhuman. And this argument of, well, Pereira against a southpaw is very tricky. That's not quite it. It's Pereira against a southpaw who changes the game. That's what makes it tricky, because Adesanya when he nearly knocked him out at the first round. That's because he was subtly closing the distance, which he hadn't done before. And then Khalil, he came in with an aggressive Muay Thai style that they did not see coming at all, right? Because when they studied the Khalil tape, they never saw this guy just coming forward, eating shots, swinging, dodging head kicks. They didn't see any of that. They saw, the more tactical approach. With Ankalaev, he doesn't have to change it to beat Pereira. Arguably, the style as it is good enough to beat Pereira. So whatever homework Pereira does, it's going to pay off big time, because Ankalaev isn't going to go in there with a whole new game plan. Like, what can he do that's going to change the game other than not shooting takedowns and pushing forward? Because if he doesn't shoot takedowns, that makes Pereira's chances go way up. If he does shoot takedowns, that's what they would have expected. And who knows, maybe he could pull off a sub. I mean, I severely doubt, but, a standing guillotine would be hilarious if he managed to pull that off. I just really hope Pereira wins this, because if he does win this, then he has every excuse in the world to go fight Aspinall or the heavyweights. And at this rate, considering that Jon Jones is ducking Aspinall incredibly hard, I honestly don't think that the fight happens anymore. Pereira needs to win this to basically save the UFC again, because if they want to have that heavyweight super fight, they're gonna need Pereira, because if it's not Jones, which it's not looking like, who else is it gonna be? Gane? Just so you can get knocked out in one round? It's not the same. And I know Pereira, we've gone through this fight many times, he probably is gonna lose to Aspinall if they were to fight, but still, it's intriguing. I'm really excited. It's incredible, actually, the reign that Pereira's had, and if he does knock out Ankalaev, then that's 4 back-to-back knockouts in less than a year, which is crazy. That might be another record in of itself. And if he goes out there and makes it look easy, there's no denying him. Give him whatever he wants. Do I think he goes out there and knocks him out early? Honestly, no. I think this is going to be I'm predicting a round 4 Pereira KO, maybe even round 5. Like, I think the wrestling might mitigate him a little bit. Oh, also, not to mention, the leg kicks are going to be huge in this fight. I don't know if Ankalaev, I can't remember whether he was able to address the leg kicks in the Rakic fight that well. I think from memory he was, but I'm just saying, this is the logic. Whatever he has felt from the other guys, like leg kick wise and striking wise, Pereira's going to be way different. He's going to hit way harder. Ankalaev he's not going to be feeling that great, probably from the weight cutting, not being able to eat, drink, the pressure. This is the big moment. I think this is Pereira's time to shine. And yeah, I'm excited. Nonetheless, this is a really competitive fight. This is why the UFC is so great. Who knows? You have to watch. You have to watch to find out. And it seems like there's a little bit of beef going into this. Pereira is the top dog. He's not giving Ankalaev his shot. It's going to be interesting nonetheless. But that being said, Pereira by knockout. But yeah, that's just about does it for this video. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. What do you think about these predictions? How do you guys think the Hooker versus Gaethje fight would have gone if it would have happened? Do you think that fight gets rebooked? What do you guys think is next for Pereira if he does beat Ankalaev? And if he loses to Ankalaev, should he go for a rematch or should he just go straight for heavyweight? And yeah, I will be making more videos. I have been very lazy, but they are coming. I have the ideas. They're all written down. It's just I haven't recorded them. But yeah, I'll see you guys in another video.